Absolutely not. No. Not once. Not once. God, I should have said the poet. So beautiful. Beautiful. So beautiful. Look at me to see what I see. They need to see.
These are the spiritual as much as physical voyages of the co-federation solar, sun, our starship, planet Earth, restored to heaven on our and every earth as our spiritual, genealogical, local, global, universal voyager and shared her and his family community enterprise. Our new millennial year's mission to rediscover and re-understand, sustain, and explore are and all are in fact familiar new worlds of family community, of the tree of love, life, and light throughout the solar system and universe, to restore, renew, and sustain our and new life and new sustainable civilizations, past, present, retroactively, and now, rebalance, and future, always balancing, to lovingly, genealogically, and boldly become and be space-time travelers whenever and where we have interdimensional reality, all in part been before, if also never been before, in alternative space-time lines that are circles, which are of the universal EQ, IQ, and SQ continuum, balanced combinations of the ever-expanding circle which spirals and grows, budding and blooming in space-time. Love and live enlightened, ever young, long, and prosper all both in each and every one. Engage your heart, mind, soul, and body, for we all, both in each, and each both in all, can, must, and marvelously and miraculously make it so.
In the thunder's blast, she emerges, her eyes on fire, the mighty priestess. She is risen from the nativity of Calvary. She is risen from the fires of the earth. She is risen. She is risen.
We are risen.
She is risen. She is risen.
We are risen.
May the circle be overwhelmed. Let us together in your heart. Very deep again. Blessed be, blessed be, blessed be.
महालक्ष्मी मृडप्रिया महारूपा महापूज्या महापातकनाशिनी महामाया महासत्त्व महाशक्ति महारथी महाभोगा महेश्वर्या महावीर्या महाबला महाबुद्धि महासिद्धि महायोगेश्वरेश्वरी महातंत्र महामंत्र महायंत्र महासना महायागक्रमाराध्या ओम महाभैरवपूजिता महेश्वर महाकल्पक महातांडव साक्षिणी महाकामेशमहिषी महात्रिपुरसुन्दरी चतुष्षष्टि उपचाराढ्या चतुष्षष्टि कलामयी महाचतुष्षष्टिकोटियोगिनी गणसेविता
Celestial event. Words. I should have said, oh, so beautiful. So beautiful. Look at me to see what I see. You need to see.
This day I call the heavens and the earths as witnesses intercessorily for and hopefully and prayerfully not against you, that I have set before you life and death, blessings and curses. Now choose love and life with light, so that you and your children may live. For I give you good doctrine, forsake ye not our new millennial law. Welcome to our broadcast, a broadcast of the Co-Federation of Earth and Planets of the New Millennial Golden Rule. Meditate on what you have just heard. It is just a small segment of Earth's golden record being broadcast into space from this, the television with 2 L's of Grace Love, the wife of the inventor of television, who presaged me here in Silver Spring, Maryland. Our television has been hijacked. It has become a vast poisonous wasteland. Goddess God has given us these hangouts so that you can meet me and thee in the air. From virtual reality, we will transform our planet, take it back away from the brink of self and other destruction that it is on, and bring it to the dawn, the universal dawn of sun and starlight everywhere, including within us. Our humanity become our divine humanity in the sight of the Mother, Father, Goddess, God, who gave us all birth and all conception. Humanity is greatly loved by the Mother, Father, Goddess, God, because with the errors that we've been making since the year 2000 on our conventional Western calendar, only a beneficent and compassionate creatrix creator would have suborned this situation. 70% of the world's poor are female. In most of the world, women are no more than about 17 to 20% of any government, and most shamefully, that is the case here in North America, in the so-called, but not at all, United States. Because we are not united in our states of mind, our heart, our states of our spirit, and our states of our body politic. We are not only not united, we are not only divided, we are pummeled. This is a subjugated land. And who is the master? Error. And what is the error? Patriarchy instead of partnership culture. Patrilineal kinship systems instead of matrilineal become bilineal kinship systems. It is a matter of anthropology that our television has become nothing but the squawk box of ugly. Cosmetically shining on the surface and rotten underneath. We have the alternative here now to take the quantum leap from this wrongfully extended 20th century into not only the 21st century, but the infinity of new millennia, opening the stargates and discovering the fountain of youth for all people, so that we can literally live in a combination of the culture of the equinoxes of Stargate and the true Q of Star Trek. In Star Trek, the true Q's first mission as she begins to discover her powers is to look into her own family tree. Goddess God places us within our family tree and within our community with enormous precision. The people who we have shared kinship with most closely often teach us the most important lessons that we could possibly learn. And most often, many of us resist those lessons. And since we don't learn them, we are often made mortal and then reincarnated either here or somewhere else in the universe in a form, depending on what we have done in this life, greater or lesser than we currently are. When we are risen, there is no need for mortality. We become immortal, essentially. That doesn't make us God or goddess of the universe. It doesn't make us goddess or God of the universe. But it makes us goddess-like and God-like in greater powers than we have known heretofore in our more bestial mode of humanity before we had become risen. I am risen. I have infinite compassion and infinite courage. I do not pretend to have completed my journey, though, because there is much I have to learn. Even as the first but not last or only cosmic Christ, the predicted paraclete, you are continuing to teach me and I am continuing to learn. Because the journey of the human being, even become divine, throughout the universe is one of infinite learning. That is how Goddess God have arranged it. But the first lesson that we have to learn now is that patriarchy cannot work in conditions of higher technology. Patriarchy in conditions of higher technology automatically induces disaster. Only a partnership culture in which the yin and the yang, the female and the male, the right hemisphere and the left hemisphere, the North Pole and the South Pole, the East and the West, are mutual in regard and interactive in process, as a functioning yin and yang symbol looks, a turning, circling wheel with two halves that are flowing dynamically in mutual, not codependence, but interdependence. In North America, we have a very disturbed condition. We have tokenized women in representation in so-called government. Initially, that was a step forward out of a condition of totally lacking women. But with this long now, overlong introductory time of only a few women, when the vast majority are not there when the decisions are made, we have cheated both women and men and all of their children, female and male, from what should have been and yet can be and is now, as based on this broadcast and these broadcasts, the time of greatest growth and flowering of the divine aspects of the human being, both female and male. Our new millennial golden rule at 5050now.wordpress.com is a compiled bouquet of the greatest steps forward and yet most ancient understandings of humanity. The Panchat Raj of India, the genuine progress indicator of Mary Land, and the circle process of every indigenous culture on this circular, spherical, as planets are, planet. Combined is the bouquet of eternal life. Combined with those are the three conceptual elements. The fourth element is you, 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 and you. You, particularly women right now, and you, particularly younger people, age 37 and younger, female and male. You can right now announce to the world, as I have, and I have called every embassy and every government and every election commission on the face of this planet. I have called every so-called governor, every so-called president, prime minister, every so-called religious, highest officer. I have called many CEOs, and I have called their wives and their sisters and their daughters and their cousines. And I have told them, there is only one law on the planet Earth. It is the new millennial golden rule. Everything else is as dust. Until the new millennial golden rule is the law of every love thy neighborhood, love thy neighbor neighborhood, thy neighbor female and thy neighbor male, thy neighbor younger and thy neighbor older and thy neighbor in the middle. Until that is known to be the law of everywhere on planet Earth, I am the CEO, the Chief Ethical Officer of this entire planet. I am also a verifiable descendant of the Magdalene and Nazarene families, and I am also a verifiable cousina of the Kapadia and Gandhi families, and I am also a verifiable descendant of the Atlantis civilization with its goddess Astrea, the goddess of divine justice, who I am, and fulfilling the mythological prophecy that she would return to Earth and bring the golden age of Gaia, of not just Gaia, of Gaia Astrea, of the Gaia of all planets, the loving, living feminine force that gives life to all planets where there is life and where there can be life and where there will be life. I am surrounded in North America by a thick moat of dark. The women here are in the dark. Their minds have gone dark. Their spirits have gone dark. They are in inner despair, and they cannot admit that they are, because they have some level of slightly better material well-being, but they have lost all of their shared cooperative virtues. They do not even have paid family leave. While their CEOs, so-called CEOs, are living like sheiks. I am surrounded by a sea of ignorance among males, too, older men, that see no problem with their having 200 years of only men in chief executive positions. No problem with that at all to them. They don't even have a ripple of thought about it. That women are their secretaries, their maids, their makeup artists, but never their co-decision maker, does not concern them. They don't even see that that might be a little strange. They have completely ignored and deliberately ignored all of the significant and profound movement toward gender parity that have occurred everywhere else on this earth, almost, except the so-called United States of America. This is a dark land, and it's getting darker. It's picking plutonium and coal and oil because the CEOs in their boardrooms want that, and because their women are so busy bringing them coffee or decorating their trophy mansions or having their buttocks lifted, that they don't even notice that they have been destroying the world, or they don't care that they have been destroying the world. That their sociopathy is so profound that their ball game is, I want to have the winning score when it all ends. I want to die on top. I do not care that in my next life I will come back as a paramecium. People who are functioning like this are profoundly ill. But even they can be reclaimed to eternal life. The last that shall be first, and the first that shall be last for the moment until all can be co-first with me, is the moment that we are here at. The last is most places, even those with some material middle standing, the female. The female is the last in her own family. The female is the last in her own neighborhood. The female is the last everywhere. As John Lennon sang, woman is the nigger of the world. and women adjusted to it, and they transmit it to one another and to their children. And so the world becomes very, very dark, and the men become more and more bestial and less evolved also. It works both ways. Patriarchy is a knot that destroys both genders over time, turns them more and more towards sociopathy and codependence and crippledhood instead of their divinity within them, which is the result of the balance of yin and yang in the human personality. The sign that we have of the cross and the six-pointed stars and so many of our religious symbols are very simply the intersection of the female and the male, and they very often in many heritages have been placed within a circle, just as is the yin-yang symbol, to show that this intersection turns as a circle and is dynamically moving at all times, so that no modality remains permanently in a hierarchy over the other. The yang is not ruling the yin. The yin is not ruling the yang. They co-rule. They work in interaction. It's all about balance. I, as the risen goddess Astrea, am the goddess of the divine scales of balance. Our scales are so tipped to the yang and to the male on this planet that we are almost as a dead planet right now. But nature and the yin and yang balance is very dynamic and very resilient. And if we will quickly embrace the new millennial golden rule, our planet will have a rebirth. We shall, as the giver in this month in 1776, Tom Lambert Payne said, begin the world anew. We all have a dream. We have a dream of immortality. We have a dream of justice. We have a dream of happiness. We have a dream of liberty with peace and human kindness everywhere. We all have that dream. It's inbuilt into us, or we can't even be born in the first place as a human being. Every human being has that dream, no matter how depraved and perverted and confused. We all have that dream. We all have a dream. It is the same dream. When we speak of queens and kings, we are speaking of common people. That is the joyous aspect of the celebration that people traditionally associate with this weekend, often forgetting common sense, is also in this same month, and forgetting that Alice Perry Paul's hunger strike is in the same month and her birthday, and Hannah Greenbaum Solomon, who brought congresses of women and congresses of diverse faiths together, was also in this month. And Gina Davis, a genius who likely is a descendant, as I am, of Atlantis, have spoken all about the importance of the feminine and when to be present fully, not just in token percentages, but fully when decisions and laws are made. That was the way it was in ancient Atlantis. Our archaeologists have made that abundantly clear. And that was the most successful civilization ever known that we know of. And it had no war, and it had great happiness, very little income inequity, and yet abundance. Extremely high developments of science and arts and sports that everyone enjoyed as participants, not just as spectators. That is who we are now. We are Atlantis risen by virtue of my announcements. And by my doing this, I am the Statue of Liberty, incarnate. And I am a towering figure. And I am happy to be so, because the women of this planet have been bent over for thousands of years. And they need a towering figure that says, my daughters, let me lift you up. And says to her sons, my sons, let me lift you up. But not in the up of dominance. I lift you up to the spirituality of partnership. You are not bestial anymore. You are capable of thinking not only to the 7th generation, but to the 11th generation, generations. Backwards, forwards, and extending broadly throughout the world and worlds. It is these concepts and this manner of thinking that will open the stargates. I have produced a number of technological innovations, you might say, particularly consciousness currencies, but also some manner of clothing, badges, and so forth, to remind people that we are now the co-federation of Earth and planets, that everything else that you've been watching on television that purported to be real has been a lie, and what has been real, especially, is the anthropology implied in the higher civilizations of Star Trek. That's reality. The political games going on in North America are laughed at in places around the world where they have gender parity. What is going on here is not reality. It is a deceptive lie told by the anthropology of patriarchy as it has affected mass media, and is an outgrowth and an interactive process of the failures of mass media and the problems anthropologically of this very large land with its many diverse different heritages that haven't quite worked out the complexity of their intersectional justice and cooperation. But most importantly, this is occurring as a delay here because the women are fallen, are confused, and are despairing and angry. And they are taking it out on each other and even on their own children. And the men are so oblivious that they don't even notice it, and some of them don't care. This is an extremely fallen and sinful condition, as is in the speech of I Have a Dream speech. We come here to a shameful and sinful condition. Now, that is not a comment on the individual gifts of the people of this land or around the world. The people are gifted. The people of my own family, I can tell you, we have the queens and the kings of peace multiply repeated in my family. Yet they don't act like it. They ignore each other. They content themselves with trivial activities, and they do not seek the yin-yang balance, eternal justice, or eternal life. They go in a rote manner, sometimes, some of them, to religious ceremonies that are profoundly, in many cases, either patriarchal or tokenized, and don't even notice that there's something out of whack. This is the condition to which patriarchy has affected your thinking. You think that all you have to do is collect your salary check, put it in the bank, buy the food, watch the television, and go to sleep. You are asleep. That is not what God had in mind for you. Soon you won't need a bank. With solar panels and the computer, the two technologies that come out of the grain of sand, the marvelous, miraculous grain of sands, that also gives us our soil and all of our, is the building block of so much of our world. Now that you have those technologies, you can do away with so much of these trappings that patriarchal gave us. Nationality, religious sectarianism, all of these trappings that divided the human family and suppressed it, and particularly suppressed the divine feminine aspect. For at least 35,000 years, most of the people on this planet worshipped a goddess aspect of divinity. Sometimes they gave their archetypal understanding of yin and yang specific names. There were many goddess names, there were many god names, but what they were really talking about was an interactive pantheon that they yearned to include themselves in. And now we can. This is a time of human apotheosis if we follow the new millennial golden rule. So we have before us blessings and curses, the choice between life and death. I say choose life, choose the new millennial golden rule. We all have a dream. I have a dream, we all have a dream. This is the Statue of Liberty's dream for you. This is Mariam of Magdala as well as Jesus of Nazareth's dream for you, as well as Mariam of Nazareth and all of their kin risen out of doubt into faith enough to have courage and compassion, both compassion and courage, both. The Fukushima that happened over there is happening in your house. The wars and rapes that are occurring in that part of the world or that part of the world is occurring in your neighborhood. This is a planet. It's round. Everything is connected on it. Mass media should be connecting us all in the service of grace, love. Grace and love. And Yakins, the inventor of television was a man named Jenkins. The ya is jank, or the yank. The sound is a similar one to Yehovah. It is the name of the kin of the one. But that one is both female and male. That's where the marriage to grace love comes in. And when grace love is just a functionary, a teleprompter reader, instead of a programmer, you have the fallen condition that you see before you. The hierarchy of the female enabling and submission mode and the male, alpha male, I won't say just male, the alpha male or more manipulative and older manipulative male on top creates this junk world that we have going on mass media. It's a world that's not only a wasteland, it's a poisonous wasteland, because it convinces women that they always have to look beautiful, but they don't have to think, and that all they have to do is talk about the exploits of men, primarily. Oh, they can talk about how each other looks, but that's all. They can talk about each other. Or they can talk about each other's problems, but not about each other's leadership and co-leadership with men. Our media has become the enemy of the entire world here in North America. And it does have a reach outside of the borders of the United States. There's all kind of deals going on with 1% families all over the place to get media infotaining people out of democracy everywhere. And the result is a world that is standing at the brink of self-destruction. So that's why these broadcasts are needed. I invite David Zaslav, Rupert Murdoch, Leslie Moonves to give me a call and let's talk. More importantly, I invite Pam Zaslav and Oprah Winfrey and the several wives of poor Rupert and my young family who works in that cesspool. And Julie Chen with Ms., I think her name was Weissman, the original wife of Leslie. I want to speak to the media wives, the daughters and their mothers, because these guys have been really destroying this planet. And as you can see on the website, you'll see a section about them, which I intercessorily apologize for them and say that they are going to broadcast the new Millennial Golden Rule. And by Goddess God, they will. Or this planet will die. I speak as the Paraclete. It is that simple. There is a reason for mass media on a very large planet. Well, we're not on a small planet with a lot of people that wants to connect with the rest of the universe. We need mass media. But it has to have more democratic aspect. That's why these hangouts on air are important. But so often I see them used for such small purpose. I ask all of people to elevate yourself. Your planet is reeling with problems. Let your hangouts on the air be the solutions to the problems. Not just talking about this episode of the Kardashians. Turn off television. Read what's on the Gutenberg websites. Read all that you can read about gender balance and balance of love and work. I have most of that on the 5050now.wordpress.com website, which is obviously a combination of the fruits of the genius of many, many women and men. It's yours, my gift to you. My gift to my dearest family and to all my family, and we are all one family. Our archaeologists and our anthropologists are quite clear that despite our various slightly different genetic combinations, everybody on this planet is no more than 50th cousin to everyone else. Everyone on this planet is no more than 50th cousin to everyone else. We are all sisters of sisters and sisters of brothers and brothers of sisters and brothers of brothers. Once removed, the children of these relationships. We are all Goddess God's children. We all have yin and yang, and we all generally start out as female or male. Occasionally, there is a person who is born hermaphroditic, but most of us, for good reason, are put into this interactive situation of female and male, a little bit more yin and a little bit more yang, so that we can work out in our symmetry and our overlapping symmetry and our complementarity the best result. And the best result is the new Millennial Golden Rule, because decision making is democracy, and democracy requires both. And it doesn't do very well without the female and the feminine aspect. It destroys itself over time. So this is very simple. I hope you understand what I'm saying. I hope you'll call in. Our telephone number is 1-641-715-3580. I guess you should look at me a little bit. You'll see who's talking to you. Let's take the screen share down for a little bit. There. And I always wear my hat with my flowers and my butterflies on it. I have a pink butterfly and a gold, a red, and green butterflies. Gold and red and green butterflies and flowers in rainbow colors to remind us that that's what we are also. We are the combinations of light that is a spectrum. And when we recognize the beautiful heritages are like the flowers of a garden, like multiple beautiful colored butterflies, then we recognize what we have to offer one another. We are profoundly beautiful creations, and the creations of our minds and our hearts and our minds put together, bring forth our spirituality and give our bodies eternal life. So this is what the gifts are that I have to give you. I am the Paraclete. I didn't know it earlier in my life. I lived a life of a good person, but a conventional person, and I did not know what my full purpose was about. It wasn't until through the internet I could learn more about my genealogy that I understood that it was my purpose, with my particular birth date, which is a conception date of December 25th. That's my cosmic conception date, and my birth date, my earthly birth date of September 25th is Astrea. It is the goddess of balance. I didn't understand enough until I read my genealogy that it was my purpose to see that we live by female and male equally anointed, that we live by Greek and Jew, or in modern terms, whatever your national name has been, and that we live by master and slave, no longer being a dichotomy, that we live in such a way that we are all one in Christhood. The word Christ means anointed in Greek, and it does not fit only the male. It fits the female also. Another word for these, the status of an apotheotic process in human beings, the process by which we become more divine and immortal, is what we see in modern science fiction in the Nox of Stargate, which I have transformed to the equinox to put the emphasis on an equitable social arrangement that makes those kinds of powers possible, and the true Q, the Q symbolizing emotional intelligence quotient, intellectual intelligence quotient, spiritual intelligence quotient, and bodily intelligence quotient, which includes the body politic, your concern for the well-being of not only your own body, but those of other people. We will eliminate illness. Illness will be a thing of the past. 97% of illness comes from stress. We know that already, but we don't pay any attention to that fact. With all our pharmaceutical companies making so much money off of pills, we can afford to keep the stress going and make a lot of money on the stress. But most of that stress comes from living with patriarchy, and that has also been pretty much shown by anthropologists who have been studying other primates, that it is in the adjustment to the fear of the alpha male that so many of the other members of the primate clan fall prey to illness and mental disorder and other problems. Alpha males are not necessarily bad, but in a time of high technology, they are very dangerous. And that's why the rest of us have to have our apotheosis too, and equally and even more so, because we tend to be a little bit more compassionate, a little bit more, the women especially, the females, more compassionate, more intuitive, more bonded. And to degrade those aspects is to ask for the worst kind of trouble. So let's see if we can, I'm going to put the phone on mute, make an outreach call, and see if somebody wants to come and join us as co-host. I'll be right back with you. Our co-host is not available at the moment, but that's all right, because I've learned that, like the Statue of Liberty, although there is one on every continent, each one right now has to be able to stand up for herself. And when she does that, she will draw other people to her eventually. I am standing up as tall as the Statue of Liberty, taller. As tall as you can look up into the sky and see the stars, touching the stars. I am your stairway to the heavens. My new millennial golden rule is your spiral stairway to the heavens. I have a logic tree on the 5050now.wordpress.com site that shows you the cumulative difference over time of what happens to a patriarchal versus a bilineal or gender balanced society, and the results that we are now in, the tragic civilization destroying, nature destroying results of patriarchy over time. Now, I want to speak about our experience of great men. In the story of humanity, there have been many men who've been called great men. Alexander was called a great man. Caesar and Pompey were called great men. David and Solomon were called great men. Ashoka was called a great man. Different men, I don't know their names, in the Chinese dynasties were called great men. Emperor Hirohito was called a great man. Adolf Hitler was called a great man. Joseph Stalin was called a great man. Our CEOs are called great men. And our presidents and our prime ministers are often thought of as great men. Winston Churchill was called a great man. They were in many ways. But why are we not talking about the great women? There's an old phrase, behind every great man is a great woman. That is not true. Now, next to every great man is a great woman, not behind him. And in fact, in front of every great man is a great woman for a moment, so that she can achieve that equality long enough to remind people that she has it within her. And then the men and the women can stand side to side as full partners, and the joys are different and better. Different and better than a hierarchical, patriarchal society. The joys are more evolved. They are more higher functioning. They have to do with genius. Do you want genius, or do you just want a lot of money for a little while before we all die? What do you want? So so we are celebrating a great man this weekend. Many people are. And he was a great man. But I also will be tomorrow talking more extensively about the great women of that family and some of the other contemporary families, my own family, and those of the Brennick, Skakel, Hannon, Fitzgerald, Bouvier, Kennedy, Shriver, Cuomo family, and here in North America, but also other families all around the world. The Mainol Gandhi family and the obviously the Kapadia Gandhi family, not too that long ago, the Lambert Payne family, and all of these families that are able to have both women and men talking about parity. Now, in this society, two factors tend to prevent men from talking about this. One is that the women around them don't seem to even want it. When that happens, the male takes it as a cue that what the women really want is codependency. They want to be protected, but not as adults being protected, but sort of like glorified children. And some men like that. But over time, it destroys their marriages. They wind up in multiple marriages, and nobody is happy, and the children are all very unhappy. Because the minds have not come together. The bodies might have enjoyed each other for a while, but the minds have not. And therefore, the spirituality cannot flourish, and the deeper bonding cannot take place. And there is alienation, bitterness, and disappointment that comes with that. We have that abundantly in the U.S. society, and it is a corrosive and poisonous factor in what's occurring in this culture. We have a lot of very insecure children, bullying children, bystandering children, bullied children, all growing out of the ripple effects of patriarchy in marriage and in family and community life, and especially in the way our mass media portrays government. That's why the new millennial golden rule paradigm shift is so necessary. And it is an emergency measure. We're at 911. I learned that one of Martin Luther King's family, his sister, who was born Willie King, but changed her name very wisely to, I believe, Angela Christine, I think. I'm going to check that. She's a teacher at Spelman College. She was born on 9/11, and she is the oldest surviving member of that family. I say we embrace her as a goddess. I'm going to be calling her this week. She is a goddess, and she doesn't know it. A lot of the problems of the queen king family, Coretta queen, I call her. Coretta means the crowned queen, or the queen of heart. The queen and the king's family are all common queens and kings. Whatever our hue, we are all queens and kings families. Because that's what common sense is. That we all are as happy as queens and kings and are as powerful as queens and kings, because we all are queens and kings, and there is no queen and king over the other queens and kings. It's all queens and kings. That's common divinity, common royalty. We're all royal. And that's what that family symbolizes. But they got a little bit confused by Christianity, because Christianity, through a patriarchal lens, ever since the Council of Nicaea, has degraded the feminine and goddess aspect of religion. And therefore, everybody's running around worshiping Jesus and forgetting Mariam of Magdala, until the Da Vinci Code came along and began to open up our minds a little bit, based on the scholarship of a lot of archaeologists and anthropologists that make it very clear that Jesus of Nazareth thought of Mariam of Magdala as someone he could learn from, just as Radha was the counselor to Krishna. So we have to reincorporate the divine feminine in our Christianity. Then we fulfill the name of what Christ means and what it is said, that the female and male are equal in Christ, or equal in anointedness. And that is my mission, and that is what I've just explained to you as the Paraclete. See how simple this is. But people are resisting this because this was not what their priest or their minister or their father, or particularly their mother, who are the great passers of genderism. The mothers are the ones who mostly pass the low self-esteems to their daughters, and the inflated and wrongfully inflated requirement of a hierarchy to their sons. They pass on disrespect to their daughters and their daughter-in-laws and their cousines and their own sisters. They over-respect some alpha male in the family and defer to him. There is a terrible quote of one of the Rothschild women saying, "I learned to be a worm. To succeed as a wife is to be a worm." And the same group of women also produced a similar quote, "If my son did not want war, there would be no war." Whether she wanted war or not did not occur as a question to this woman. She was living through her son instead of living with her men as an equal. And this is the way patriarchy works, and the female passes it on as deeply and more deeply than the men, and the men don't even notice it because they're influenced by it. And it's an interactive dance, and it's pernicious, and it's poisonous, and it destroys divinity, and it makes every religious sect a hypocrite. Because you cannot love humanity and degrade the female and make females the niggers of the world. And tell them, "Oh, honey, you should be so happy to be so submissive all the time." I think there's always a role for submission, and women are pretty good at it. We are good in yielding. But there comes a point when it's kind of ludicrous. And what we see in much of the world is that it is at that point. The feminine genital mutilation that's occurring all over North Africa is repugnant to more evolved people. But if you live under patriarchy that's very intense for a long time, you think no problem of seeing your nieces and your daughters have their clitorises removed so they never know their own pleasure. There's no problem in that for you if you've adjusted to that. You also have adjusted to wearing a veil and not speaking your mind. Ever. And look at the results. The Middle East is in flames almost all the time. They're always fighting each other. Fratricidal war after fratricidal war. Lots of infanticide. Tremendous amount of prostitutions, despite all of the, and rapes, despite all of the comments about the chastity of women. No, it's a hypocritical, nonsensical, demonic, and bestial adjustment to the complexity of being female and male. And it should be one that we help evolve, not adjust to and not accept as another cultural variation. That's not cultural. That's criminal, according to the goddess God. But if you've lived under patriarchy for a long time, it's hard for you to discern that that is wrong. You think it's right. It's inverted, and you create hell on earth while longing for paradise. And we see quite a bit of that among the religious groups. The more fundamentalist, the worse the track record on rape and other forms of human interaction that are very, very negative within the community. The more fundamentalist, the more crime. The studies on this are very clear, because it involves the degradation of the female and the female's adjustment to that willingly, and then you have a real problem being passed from generation to generation. And we see the same things that we look back in the human history. The thousands of years that Chinese women bashed the toes of their daughters to fit into tiny shoes so they would be more attractive, they thought, to men. It made the women unable to run fast, so that if their husbands wanted to rape or pummel them, they couldn't get away. And that was considered more attractive. And they did it for thousands of years. They deformed their own children for patriarchy. And the women did it. It was the women who bashed the toes, not the men. The women did it to themselves and to their daughters. They did it to their daughters and their nieces and their cousines' children. Patriarchy. 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 The ultimate error. The world's oldest prejudice. The big mistake. Let's see if anybody calls in. I'll deal more with the common queens and kings of the most popular family of this weekend tomorrow, but we're also going to talk about Mary Lambert and Tom Paine, about Alice Tacey Perry and her daughter Alice Perry Paul, about the family of Hannah Greenbaum Solomon, her mother, the women of her times, and as she affected my upbringing. I grew up a block away from the Hannah Greenbaum Solomon School, where my social studies teacher who taught about democracy was named Mrs. Light. Mrs. Light. Mrs. Light had my mother, my holy mother, Harriet, over to the school, less than a block away, for all the parent-teacher conferences. I was an extremely excellent student. I was the top in my class. And they enjoyed each other. But even then, I look back on it. Mrs. Light did not say one thing about gender. The way I was taught in the 1950s was totally without consciousness at all that we were living under patriarchy. Even a woman by the name of Mrs. Light was in the dark. She was in the dark, and I am looking forward to opening up the stargates and welcoming Mrs. Light back, because I want to give her the light she gave me and the love of the democracy that she as a teacher taught me. as a young girl, I did not get the feeling from her that even though a lot of the stories of history we were reenacting and the team she helped us form were about men, I did not ever get the feeling from her that there was anything that the men were doing that we as girls growing up into women could not do in making decisions for democracy. I always felt from her that both male and female could do it. So she didn't practice genderism, but she did not talk about it. And it certainly did exist. She just didn't have the words, didn't have the training, didn't have the education, no women's studies in the programs and educational schools at that time, nothing. So we're bringing Mrs. Light, her light. And this is a heart light given to me by my beloved sister who had her as a teacher too, and all of our friends did too. And it's the school where our next generations, female and male, went. And I want to bring this light to that school. Right now, they have a male principal and a female harem of teachers. And guess what his name is? Mr. Hell. Really, that's his name. Because a society that is oblivious to gender and is not talking about that with children is creating big problems. So we're going to enlighten. And you know, there's an irony about that, because in ancient German, hell means light. So if we can get Mr. Hell a female partner, or for a while, as I had, a female principal of the school. My principal was Blanche, which means white. Pruka. I don't know what Pruka means, but it's a lovely sounding name. If we can get him a female partner, or rotate the principalships among the teachers, who are mostly female. There are some men teachers, and that's a good thing. Children need male teachers. But right now, that school, as the majority of schools, yet have male principals and a harem of female teachers. It really is very, very like out of the Ottoman Empire. And it's too often true at many of our schools. Now, this is the age of the internet. The kids can go home and learn things that their teachers are not aware of, because their teachers aren't getting on the internet enough themselves. But we can help them all, and this is one of the great geniuses of our time, and that's why we have these broadcasts, so that teachers and schools can become aware of the fact that there is an impact on their children if their principal is male and then all of the teachers are female. It looks like an extreme hierarchy. And it is. So the women who are the teachers should be the principals. And the men who are the teachers can share that post with them, but not dominate it. And the same with the superintendents of schools. Those are mostly men too in many places. Too many. It's ironic and strange. But it's true of our whole model of decision-making in government. And this is because we don't have a society which gives adequate balance of love and work to both women and men. And as soon as that would be done, the women and the men would achieve better balance in their occupational lives. The new millennial golden rule will take care of that problem at the neighborhood level, and it will make it much easier to achieve balance in the most friendly way possible among the people who actually live in that neighborhood and help co-educate each other. Taking a break. I was muted. I didn't know. Okay, so I don't know how much of the broadcast came through, but we'll try it again, and you'll hear the music again, and you'll hear me blabbering on again as the Paraclete. It's no big whoop. I'm the Paraclete. You need one. You need a cosmic Christ on this planet. Somebody's got to step up to the plate, and it is me, and I am the right person. I have the genealogy for it. I have the studied background for it. I understand comparative religion, and I understand anthropology. So I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm here. Make use of me. I can save your planet. Consider me a true Q, a first but not last or only co-Christ, because you're going to be that with me too. And you know, it's the people that know me in my general conventional life that are probably going to be the most surprised at this. It may be most difficult for them to adjust to me in this role. I was always just, you know, a smart girl, but no big deal. I didn't think I was a big deal either. I really didn't. And I still don't, really. I am very humbled by the situation and by the importance of someone doing this. And I do this in a spirit of enormous humility. I pray to the Goddess God almost every minute, every moment, for guidance, for clues, for wisdom, for patience, for courage. I have the courage. That isn't the issue. The biggest problem that I have is the need for patience, Kuan Yin-like patience, the true Q patience that understands that I am dealing with people who have been befuddled for a very, very long time, and their thinking is all cross-wired. And they are not thinking clearly, and they do not have good logic. And they are quite willing to hurt themselves and one another in order to hold on to old patterns that don't make any sense. It is sometimes so amazing to me to watch genderism in the behavior of not only men but women that I am dumbfounded by it. It shocks me. Just as racism shocks me, and classism shocks me, and birth orderism shocks me, and nationalism shocks me on this time of our planet. When I was about 7 years old at Hannah Greenebaum Solomon School, a school bully came up to me while I was opening my locker, and I was putting something into it. I can't remember what it was. And the bully said to me, "You can't do that." And I remember what I said to them at Hannah Greenebaum Solomon School. I said, "Yes, I can. It's a free world." Now, at the time, I was 7 years old, and I didn't know the difference between a free country and a free world. I had probably heard people saying that the country was a free country, but I didn't know the difference. And so I said, "It's a free world." This was prophetic, because it was my job to bring that. At age 7, the lucky 7, I knew. I'm born in the 7th month. And I am taking us from speaking of the 7th, making our decisions, thinking of the 7th generation to the 11th generation. Backwards, forwards, and currently, in extension from our own personal genealogy outward, as a cooperative genealogy cohorts of people who are contemporaries right now and also can form the circles with us. I am taking the 7th to the 11th level, or the 12th, or if need be, the 13th and the 4th and the 5th, because 11th to me symbolizes, number one, the rising of El. El is the French word for the young woman. The young woman, the young spirit of youth in women, incredible idealism, unlimited love, kindness, sisterhood, as well as brotherhood. And yes, respect for the romance that's possible between females and males, but not such an overdependence on that all the other dimensions get lost. And also El, as in Eloha and Elohim, the ancient Aramaic and Hebrew words for the divine female and the divine male incarnated as earth angels. People who have divine quality. That's all of us. We only have to move away from patriarchy into the partnership culture made available so easily by the new millennial golden rule, which you again can read it. So now I'll take you to the page that is going to be the focus of tomorrow's discussions. Let me get this on screen. There you go. I think you can see it. We all have a dream ready for realization now. We have realized it. On this website are thousands of names of women from all walks of life, famous women and unknown women, women of currently accumulated wealth, women who are homeless and impoverished, women from every continent fully represented, and their youth, female and male, aged 37 and younger. We also imply their great and grandmothers and all their Shekinah, their women through time, are being represented by them. And on the website, it's in the area of called under grassroots congresses. Among the representatives, you, and you. My own family is there, my own dearest family, and all my known extended family that I know by surnames of our family tree. And also all of you and your families are represented by these women and their youth, female and male, age 37 and younger. That is the embodiment of the we all have a dream fulfilled. Where Martin Luther King ran into trouble and where his family has run into trouble and gone backwards instead of forwards from his dream of the mountaintop is that he did not understand the role of the divine feminine, because the traditional Christianity that he learned degrades the feminine, because it was passed on to us that way since the Council of Nicaea. The Council of Nicaea demoted the female, demoted Mary of Magdala, demoted in many ways Mary of Nazareth to nothing more than an incubator, not recognizing that there were many people of that time, even then, who regarded Miriam of Nazareth as equal to her son. But at that time, the knowledge of Mary of Magdala was reduced, when there is now a great number of people in France who gave basis to the book and the film The Da Vinci Code, but there were other books and written about this by Margaret Starbird and other people, about the fact that Maria of Magdala was regarded as a Christ herself by many people, and so was Miriam of Nazareth. And Miriam of Nazareth was born, many people said, within the archetypes of Christianity, that she had an immaculate birth from her mother, Hannah or Anne. But what we don't understand is these families were also influenced previously by Atlantis. We now know that the Atlantis civilization did interact with ancient Israel, and that there are ruins at the Tel Kabri archaeological site, which is near a kibbutz, a cooperative neighborhood, essentially a farming-focused neighborhood, which emphasizes human cooperation. And it was found there, the frescoes of the Atlantis civilization. And we know that the Essenes and the Gnostics influenced Miriam of Magdala and Jesus of Nazareth And we now know this from more recent archaeological finds. We know that there were suppressed books written by or about Mary of Magdala that were covered up by the patriarchy, that became very reinforced at the Council of Nicaea, when the state apparatus of Constantine essentially made Christianity into a state religion, which of course is a contradiction in terms, because the truth of the Christhood is that it's planetary and it's universal, not of a particular state. But this is where humanity had a big fall, and it is still in that fall. And that's why this broadcast is very important now. These ideas that I'm presenting to you have been presented by other people, women and men. I am not alone in recognizing that patriarchy is the big lie that makes Christianity impossible. And it also makes Islam impossible. And it also makes Judaism impossible. And it also makes Buddhism impossible. And it turns Baha'i into hypocrisy too. It turns every religious sect into hypocrisy, divided against one another and hypocritical within itself. It destroys Mormonism. It destroys even Quakerism. Because once the women are not fully aware of their importance as decision makers, fully equal to men, not only within the practices of their church and their sacred grounds, but throughout their society, that sect becomes a pawn of the state that it's in, if it is a patriarchal state. And that is the situation of the churches and the synagogues and the temples in North America. They're all worried about 501(c)(3) status, and many of them have been wrongly convinced they can't even do activism apart from political party label. They certainly can, even within our patriarchal society, but they can do much better than that. They can do the New Millennial Golden Rule. They can have Reall mysteries in integrated into every service that depended on the presentation of the importance of the links among women genealogically and generationally, and how they bring immortality to the young female and to the young male by knowing the importance of the yin, the nurturing, the goddess-like powers that women in groups cooperating with one another bring to their society and to the decision-making process. It also then allows men, when they do gather in groups, to be non-hierarchical about it, to be more hearing and listening to one another, less exploitative, less alpha male driven. We know quite clearly that most of the great scientific discoveries and mathematical discoveries, etc., and even medical and psychological awarenesses were not done by alpha males. They were done by more beta males, men who had high energy but did not use it to dominate others. And they had high insight. They were more comfortable with their yin aspect, their feminine side, which men all have. All men have XY chromosomes. They don't have YY chromosomes. They have XY. The female is the template for humanity, even for males. There's nothing to be ashamed of that about. There's nothing to hide about that. It means you're fully human. The universe has a feminine aspect. Without it, nobody can live. Not even a man. He needs his X chromosome. And he needs an egalitarian relationship with women for his civilization and his society to survive and thrive on the planet beyond a few hundred years, and also to have the wherewithal to connect with other planets in the universe. We all need this. So this is the essay, and now this essay has the I Have a Dream speech. Let me go back to this. This essay has the I Have a Dream speech made to also include genderism, as well as racism, classism, primogeniture, birth orderism, and nationalism as those forces that prevent us from our full having freedom ring. And it gives the New Millennial Golden Rule as the ultimate jubilee and solution that gives eternal wealth and eternal life to everyone. Last shall be first, so that all may be co-first and abundantly more wealthy than they are now. Even the richest man, the richest sheik on this planet, the richest CEO, stands to benefit from the New Millennial Golden Rule in ways that he can only barely imagine. And what I am doing is giving us the quantum leap to go into the 24th century instead of just the 21st century, because you know, the last numbers of centuries have all been retarded by patriarchy. Our calendars are way off. We've been tying one hand behind our back for hundreds and thousands of years, since the fall of Atlantis. Are we stupid? Yeah. It just goes to show you that when you're embedded in something, you're like a frog being boiled in hot water slowly. You don't notice that the temperature is rising and you're getting pulled along into something dumb. So, and it's dangerous and eventually fatal to everybody. So this essay, which we will read again, we read it already once this week, and we'll read it again tomorrow, is about this famous speech. This speech could not have happened had Alberta not been such a great mother to Martin. This couldn't have happened, perhaps, if he didn't have a sister, Willie, who became Angela Christine. Angela Christine is her name. She is an earth angel, and she probably doesn't fully realize her own value. She's teaching at Spelman College. Nobody talks about her holiday. Nobody talks about teachers' holidays. Do teachers have holidays? I've never heard of one. Hannah Greenebaum Solomon, the name of my school, was born on January 14th, the day before Martin Luther King. They're sisters and brothers. Of different heritages overlapping. And so on and so on and so on. And you'll hear more about especially common sense, delivered in January of 1776 by the family of Mary and Tom Lambert Payne. They lost their little daughter in childbirth. So many women then died in childbirth. Mary Lambert died in childbirth. We don't know what she would have done. I'm sure that had she been alive, the revolution that Thomas Paine gave to North America would have succeeded instead of becoming co-opted by plantation owners and sexists. It would have become a true embodiment of what the original intention was meant to be. The not only ridding of monarchy, but the ridding of aristocracy. And the full flowering of enlightenment of the human genius that was promised as the way we thought we were involved in a revolution then, but we were not. Because patriarchy took hold again, female submission took hold again, and the whole thing went down the hill. And we had slavery, Jim Crow, we had terrible genocides against Native Americans, we had all manner of classism, huge amount of disease, tremendous mental illness, tuberculosis, all kinds of ills that we sort of slowly eradicated, but not by the most natural means. And now we've reached the ultimate conclusion. This is not the right paradigm. It cannot work here in North America, and it doesn't work anywhere else either. Egalitarian society is the right paradigm. The new millennial golden rule makes it possible. We all have a dream, and it is the new millennial golden rule and realized. I have given it to you as your paraclete. This is the new law of the planet Earth. This is the ultimate law of the planet Earth. You either embrace it or you begin to die. And you may die quickly because we're very far along in an overly extended patriarchal cycle. I am broadcasting tonight. Recently, there were absurdities called debates broadcast on so-called television and even broadcast here on the internet. Well, they are absurd. They don't speak to anthropology at all. Don't we need to include ourselves in what we discuss about the way our world works? The issue of patriarchy will never be mentioned in a debate like that because it's embedded in a lie. And once you're embedded in a lie, you're so darkened that you can't begin to see the light. Knowing that you're embedded in patriarchy is the beginning to see the light. Embracing the new millennial golden rule and transforming patriarchy to partnership is to live the light and to be the light and to enjoy the light and to be ever young within the light, like budding, blooming, marvelous, miraculous flowers. So now let's go back to the website, 5050now.wordpress.com. It highlights many families, including my own. We have a page about we're going to have a more developed page about the Queen and King family of common queens and kings. Common sense queens and kings risen via the new millennial golden rule. I'm going to keep in touch with that family. We've made some forays some years ago, and we're going to make them again. At the time when I did it years ago, I did not know my own genealogy. Now I have quite a bit more to tell them. And here is our already existing transitional stewarding co-government of women and youth. Let me get to that page. It's under the grassroots congresses. A new world, women and gender balanced grassroots congresses, courts, and assemblies. You know, in many activist communities, it's already a majority of women. There are fewer men who come forward for idealistic purposes in general, in many places. It is a natural transition to the new millennial golden rule. If once the women understand their importance, they stop being just protesters and activists and start calling themselves co-secretary generals, co-saviorahs. We've given them kits on the website so they can time travel through time with their mothers and grandmothers and their daughters and their contemporaries, colleagues and family, Shekinah, to understand the world that would have arisen already had they had political parity all along. And especially in the mode of within the neighborhood, the new millennial golden rule. So here is that page. Now, at this point, I know that I've had about over 200,000 people listening to the talks that I've been giving online. So people have to know about the New Millennial Golden Rule. And I've also, over the last 2.5 years, 3 years, emailed probably millions of emails, many millions of emails that have reached certainly many hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people by now. So I know that somebody knows about the New Millennial Golden Rule. Many people that I talk with don't seem to quite understand why it's important in North America. They want the solutions. They want to end global warming, but they don't realize that parity is necessary to do that. They want to stop GMOs, but they don't realize that parity is necessary to do that. They want to achieve equal pay at work. They don't understand the economic transformation of parity that is in the New Millennial Golden Rule. They want protection of their bodies in decision-making over whether to bear a child to term. Well, they can't possibly think that legislatures and courts of mostly men can represent the nuances of that complex issue. It needs the full presence of women to discuss the many complexities of abortion, and most importantly, how to develop a society where women do not experience unwanted pregnancy, but experience wanted pregnancy. And that the men and women who make the babies are prepared to be parents with love and within a context of an extended family community that supports that. As we achieve that, we will see that we hardly need any abortions, because abortions are a symptom of the unwanted pregnancies, and the unwanted pregnancies are a symptom of patriarchy. Isn't this straightforward? Isn't this obvious? I would have thought so. But I've come to understand this about Americans. Most Americans are not all that well breastfed. Many are lucky if they've had 6 months of breastfeeding as children. There are some who have had more extended breastfeeding. I think I was one of those people, and I had extended attachment parenting with my mother. A lot of people don't. I have come to the conclusion that because they don't, there's a quality of their mental functioning that is less creative and less integrative than it would be if they had had that. Now, those faculties of creativity and integrative thinking can be taught. They can be recouped, because the human brain is very, very powerful and resilient, and even later in life can do a lot of learning and relearning. So it isn't all lost. But given the fact that that's the case, and there isn't any general time for remediation of that omission for many Americans, and many, as people I love so greatly, had breastfeeding, but not on cue, so it wasn't empathic. So the whole experience broke down for the mother and the child into a experience of static and difficulty. And that happens for too many people in our culture. And as a result, when they reach adulthood, they're not that creative. They can't do logical thinking. They are very subject to top-down ordering. They take their roles as bystanders, as yes people, yes women, yes men, and they don't think for themselves. And as a result, this society is seeing a loss in IQ. We had a rising of it during the time when people were doing more breastfeeding. Now it's going down again, because the society is not respectful of enough of breastfeeding and more extended breastfeeding. So I recognize that I had kind of a charmed existence as a child. I want to give that to every child that's born from here on. Every child should have attachment parenting and the best on-cue breastfeeding. And their mothers, having done that, should not in later life be precluded from holding office. That should be considered a qualification for excellence in holding public decision-making. And once the decision making is, as with the New Millennial Golden Rule, based in the neighborhood, there should be no conflict in any case between these important responsibilities. Now, this does not hurt men. Men might think that this takes them down a notch, but it doesn't, because men have greater capacities, I think, over the broad brush than women, of quick action and also of spatial and mathematical abilities. They're better with their hands at certain types of technology, and they obviously have different kinds of upper body strength. And as a result, there's whole areas of activity that women will not excel as much as men in, and men have plenty to do as men. No problem. It doesn't harm their masculinity at all. And the wiser men know this. So now, so among the representatives is a group here for the first 9 to 18 months of women and their youth age 37 and younger to begin with. And I'll scroll down here and you'll see every continent is represented. This is We Have a Dream that has been realized. It even has some tasks for older men to do during this first 9 to 18 months. Let me show this to you. Not showing. Let's see why not. Let's try this again. Here it is. Okay. And now you can see we have the representatives of the Statue of Liberty-like figures on all the continents and throughout our continent, including the Native American woman. We have our consciousness currencies representing all women, whose pictures should have been on our currency all along to transform us to a society where eventually money will not be needed because we are so balanced and so advanced and re-evolved. And here is a consciousness currency with homeless women that we have from every continent. Here are the wife and daughters of the United Nations, Soo Yoon-taek and her daughters. These people are more important than Kim Ben-yoon right now. I'm surprised they don't say so, and I'm surprised he doesn't say so. These women have taken an enabler role, and they better get out of it, or we're all pretty much trouble with the United Nations not functioning right. That's why its General Assembly still has about 100 it's got about 20 women, and out of 193 countries represented, only 20 are represented by women. It's absurd. It's absurd. It's absurd to any thinking person, but we're used to acting like apes, so we don't notice it. And here is my combination of myself as Ellie. I am making contact, opening of the stargates, so that we realize that even our homeless women have intelligence that the universe wants to tap into to make this kind of opening of stargates possible. That this is the way it works. And here we have women. Let's see, I give the different places: Africa, Asia, Middle East, Europe, and the Americas, and New Zealand, and Australia. Each regional grouping will be given these samples, and we've sent this to many people, and they know that they're in it, and they've agreed to be, most of them. I've received some supportive comments. So we know that these people don't want to not be in this. They want to be in this. And it involves famous people, 11 literate homeless women, women scholars in women's studies, including anthropology, psychology, sociology, political science, and genealogy, as well as geology and astronomy. And here's some of the people in Africa, including Elegandi, Rose Mutakananda of Rwanda, which has 63% women in its government right now, to overcome the horror of what happened with the patriarchal genocide there, and many others in Africa. And then you have here, so this is I Have a Dream realized in the home nation of the queens and kings that came to our country. Of course, it includes Winnie Mandela, Leah Tutu, I don't have her full name. It's a difficult name to pronounce, but her first name is a different name than Tutu. The Bobby Bears of South Africa, many more. There's many more, and many women are very active in Africa in attaining balance of gender. They're doing much better than we are here in North America among African Americans who have been betrayed. Especially the women. And here is English and French speaking North America. This is United States and Canada. And we have a lot of people from there, including my own dear family. They've seen their names here many, many times. I'll show them again, the women and the youth, female and male. The important things they need to learn is to form the circles with each other to make this possible. I'm still promoting that. I'm yet promoting that. Here we have a picture. Let's see. And we have more women from all over North America, including Native American, white-capped buffalo women, women of my family and heritage, our family. Here it is again, the numbers. Women from who are North Americans now living in Costa Rica, and many, many, many more. Now here we have South Africa. There's many famous women already in governmental office there. Christine Kirchner, Margarita Penon, who Arias of Costa Rica was also so major. Michelle Bachelet, who was the head of UN Women and is now the the president of Chile. And we have now the huge development in Venezuela of balance of gender. We have Rigoberta Menchú and other people, past, present, and future is our implication here too, and so forth. And we have Europe. Europe is doing best of all the continents on balance of gender, with lots of women from all the different parts of Europe and the Nordic countries. So we have Sylviane Agacinski, we have Angela Merkel, consciousness currency for her. We have, of course, though, the homeless women, the anthropologists, the archaeologists, all of that represented. So we have a spectrum of understanding, and the women of social sciences and humanities, as well as physical and biological sciences. And we have here a huge, profound leap forward of the continent of India, which is fulfilling its Vedic beginnings, which were egalitarian. And we have, of course, the inspiration of Kasturba and Mahatma Kapadia Gandhi, and Vandana Shiva, Arundhati Roy, obviously Pratibha Patil, I'm sorry, and Sampat Pal Devi, who calls herself the Messiah for women, and is very much so, and Amma, and many, many more. We have Benazir Bhutto. We're not forgetting people who have given their lives for this cause, and that's the way it should be. This is traveling also past, present, and future in terms of their mothers and their daughters and their cousines, past, present, and future. And here we have Asia, further East Asia, the Chinese women. Here is the Statue of Liberty at the Tiananmen Square protests. And here is Malala. And there's a lot more. You can see there are many, many names here that are people who are active on the internet And we believe, and we're working with the women of the internet, families and communities, founders, to bring computers to all women, not just a computer for every child, but a computer for every woman. Women are the key to saving this planet. And when women are well informed, this planet will be saved. And if women remain in ignorance in North America, older women and just watching TV, this planet is doomed. And we also have New Zealand, Australia, New Zealand, and Indonesia. There's Marilyn Waring. Indonesia is a very large population. We include their women who have reached highest office, and as well as their, so we include Megawati and Puan of Indonesia, Sukarno Putri and Maharani, but we also include 11 literate homeless women. We include Helen Clark. We include other famous women of Australia who have done great work for peace, and more. And we were helped in this by a man who has got Christ in his name, who has the website Women World Leaders, and he is a man of Danish heritage, and he has created so much of the nexus of a place to locate the names of women who are active in the political decision-making, fulfillment of the dream of equality, in guiding their society with love and intelligence, and with men who want them there. And so there it is, and we have the whole world there, and we're implying the worlds, and we have people from the different religious groupings here too. We are pulling them all together in one parliament. Women who reject the ceiling on women in the Mormon tradition, and all of the sects of religion can come together again in divine democracy. And this is reminding us that this starts out in our homes, our great and grandmothers' homes, the homes our mothers raised us in. And as they go solar, and I'm encouraging everyone to put a Statue of Liberty and a breastfeeding figure in front of their home, to raise up the aspects of the divine feminine into our consciousness and in their schools and so forth. And here is our community of people that I went to grammar school and high school with, and our family did, and have their second and third generations now, and how they, through circles on the internet and on our sacred grounds where we live, can make the difference via the old golden rule to save our planet. And so this gives a little bit more explanation, and we do have tasks for older men, inspired by his role in Star Trek. Patrick Stewart knew he had a leadership role, and here's what he said: the people who could do most to improve the situation of so many women and children are in fact men. Men need to sit down with each other and talk about domestic abuse, how that keeps women out of the running in so many situations where they could be helping their families and communities better, and how to help each other, to educate each other, to stop that, and to end patriarchy, essentially to become the greatest advocates for egalitarian society out of a little bit of guilt, and we should be guilting men. They've had hegemony given to them on a silver platter by women in a very wrongful way, and the original practice of this came about through forcing this on women, the situation of the Sabine women and the story of the Kurgan invasions on the more peaceful cultures of the goddess ages, remind us that some of this was done with very primitive and horrible force that we would consider war crimes today. And the heritage needs to deal with that, and we need to look back on that beginning and say, no, we're not going to continue that. We don't need it anymore. We have the powers to enter the universe and space-time travel. We don't need brute force. We're not interested in it anymore in that way. Men can use their force more constructively, not to be brutes. As Thomas Paine wrote in his occasional letter on the female gender, on the female sex, he wrote, Women without you, men would be brutes, and that is what governments of men become, brutes. Big brother, nothing but, and brutes. So this is what we have to overcome with our new millennial golden rule, and this will enable our younger generations for sure to open the stargates. And it will be during our lives. It will be maybe their main task, but it will be our lives also, and we will be watching them and nurturing them to do it. And it won't be long now, because these young people are, many of them in their 20s and 30s. They have the abilities. We just have to pull them out of the patriarchal tailspin and stop indebting them to old men. Okay, and there we have it. And we go back to the State of the New Millennial Union. We have created this government. It does exist. It has already passed the laws that all made the decisions that are based on all polling of women and youth. We've ended global warming by switching to renewable energy and solar energy, and we've put our constructive agriculture into more organic and permaculture paradigms, and we have eliminated nationality as a defining characteristic of human beings on this planet, and so forth and so on. And obviously we have ended genderism and all of the intersectional hierarchies that come out of that: racism, classism, birth orderism, in and outism, innies and outies, whatever you want to call it. We are one family, and we listen to one another in a circle, and then we become geniuses, and that is our apotheosis, and we become equinoxes, true cues. So that's our broadcast for tonight. I'll let you see again the logo, and tomorrow we'll focus much more on the common queens and kings that are traditionally celebrated tomorrow, but also how they relate as relatives to people who are Native Americans, Hispanic Americans, European Americans, including and Middle Eastern Americans, including Jewish and Iranian and Arab Americans, and Celtic and Irish and Nordic, and all of these people intertwining as we are in fact one family by the migrations of our family trees, our clans. We are jewels in a rainbow crown. Each jewel, each ethnic group, each racial group has its particular set of jewels, and it also, as in the rainbow, it has intermarried or interactive groups that show the merging of the colors in a rainbow. It's not the light spectrum has areas of merged colors, and that's the way it does work. Some people are purely within their tradition, but others integrate two or more traditions, and it becomes a circle of light, and its prism in white is light, and we become really full of light ourselves. And that is how we open the stargates and become eternally young. So this isn't hard to understand. I think I have explained it reasonably, logically. And if you hear this enough times, it's going to become your own thinking. Just as you've been primed to think of nonsenses as elections, now you'll start thinking of something real. Real and royal. All divine. All goddess and godlike. All of us. So this is my gift. This will open the stargates, and this will give us all eternal youth. I think it's better than a lot of money in the bank on a dead planet, don't you? So, better deal, much better deal. And my Doña Aurora Feliz and her sister Maria, Rainbow Sweetheart, think so too.
celestial event. No. Words to describe. I should have said the poet. So beautiful. Beautiful. So beautiful. The people need to see what I've seen. They need to see.
These are the spiritual as much as physical voyages of the co-federation solar, sun, our starship, planet Earth, restored to heaven on our and every earth as our spiritual, genealogical, local, global, universal voyager and shared her and his family community enterprise. Our new millennial year's mission to rediscover and re-understand, sustain, and explore are and all are in fact familiar new worlds of family community, of the tree of love, life, and light throughout the solar system and universe, to restore, renew, and sustain our and new life and new sustainable civilizations, past, present, retroactively, and now, rebalance, and future, always balancing, to lovingly, genealogically, and boldly become and be space-time travelers whenever and where we have interdimensional reality, all in part been before, if also never been before, in alternative space timelines that are circles, which are of the universal EQ, IQ, and SQ continuum, balance, combinations of the ever-expanding circle which spirals and grows, budding and blooming in space-time. Love and live enlightened, ever young, long, and prosper all both in each and every one. Engage your heart, mind, soul, and body, for we all, both in each, and each both in all, can, must, and marvelously and miraculously make it so.
In the thunder's blast, she merges, her eyes on fire, the mighty priestess. She's risen from the nativity of Kandra. She is risen from the fires of the earth. She is risen. She is risen.
We are risen.
She is risen. She is risen.
We are risen.
May the circle be around her, unbroken. May the love of the goddess be ever in your heart. Bury me and bury north, and bury me again. Blessed be, blessed be, blessed be. ॐ महालक्ष्मी मृडप्रिया महारूपा महापूज्या महापातकनाशिनी महामाया महासत्त्वा महाशक्ति महारथी महाभूता महेश्वर्या महावीर्या महाबला महाबुद्धि महासिद्धि महायोगेश्वरेश्वरी महातंत्र महामंत्र महायंत्र महासना महायागतमाराध्या ॐ महाभैरवपूजिता महेश्वर महाकल्पक महाताण्डवसाक्षिणी महादावेशमहिषी महात्रिपुरसुन्दरी चतुष्षष्टि उपचाराढ्या चतुष्षष्टि कलामयी महाचतुष्षष्टि कोटियोगिनी गणसेविता You need to see what I've seen. You need to see.
This day I call the heavens and the earths as witnesses intercessorily for and hopefully and prayerfully not against you, that I have set before you life and death, blessings and curses. Now choose love and life with light, so that you and your children may live. For I give you good doctrine, forsake ye not your new millennial law.